Hello, listeners out there on KGRA Radio, digital broadcasting. This is Jason White with my sidekick, Ronnie Leatherman, here on Into the Fire. We are stoked to be here for episode number 3. Ronnie, how was your Christmas?
It was good. Good. How about you?
Epic. Couldn't ask for anything more. It was just awesome. I spent way too much money, of course, but what else is new?
Yeah.
And but other than that, it was really good. So did you do anything fun?
We went up to my parents on Saturday, actually, and spent the day with them, spent the night. My sister came up and visited.
Nice.
Did our gift exchange that evening, and then got up Sunday morning, had some breakfast, and then we went to my wife's mom's down on Grand Lake and did the same thing there with her family, and then came back, and everybody got plenty of gifts and had a good time. And so, yeah. How about you?
Well, no, we just ran around and did the normal thing, going back and forth to the Oklahoma City area and so forth. You'll notice the Christmas tree is still behind me. Yeah. That's going to stay there until I'm allowed to get that out of the background. So we have that around until right after the first. So, hey, listen, we want to appreciate, we have we had a lot of followers from the last week, from the first episode to the next one, man. It's exploding. It's going great. We had a mother load of just phenomenal comments. I've shared kind of with Ronnie just the numbers, and it's just insane. So we love it. Last week, we kind of did something fun, a little audience participation, where we had asked people to, hey, feel free to comment over there on the board, the comment board, and tell us where you're from, where you're listening from. That's kind of fun for us, and it kind of prompts me to look up a lot of different places. I will tell you that from last week, we literally had people that were listening to us from South Africa and from Italy, Ireland, and in several places throughout Australia, not to mention all over the country. And so we really do appreciate your kind comments. I know that Jackie Muse, our guest from last week, she's actually sitting in here watching this too. So
she just commented. The first comment of the day.
That's right. She's great. And the comments for her were through the roof. So this week we're going to have a really good guest as well, and that's Kristie Randolph. But before we get to there, I'll tell you, we've both been on the First 48 for many, many years, right, Ronnie? And
we have. I wanted to go ahead. I wanted to ask you something. So
no, go ahead.
So this year, I know you can't talk in huge details about some of the murders that are going on in here in Tulsa, but what are the numbers like this year compared to most years, and just what's up with the latest one?
Well, the latest one was a shooting that happened at the mall of all places, the largest mall in the state of Oklahoma, and basically it's consistent with most of the other murders, which revolves around stupid, and that got solved within a couple of days. I think the totals for the year, we've had 47 homicides and we've solved 45 of them, which is pretty much, usually we get like one or two that just makes it a little bit difficult. The reason why I asked you about that is because, throughout the years, we always get something a little bit weird or we get a message about something that somebody is sending us a picture of something that they've done or whatever. And so this has got to be a shout out for somebody, because I have to make a mention of a couple of people from way up in Warwick, Rhode Island, and that's going to be Paulie, the street sweeper. Who I don't know why that makes me laugh, but it's kind of funny. So Paulie, the street sweeper up there, his wife, whose name is Jody. I don't know if they're going to be listening or not, but I mentioned that I might make a shout out to him. And what did she do? She actually surprised him with a calendar full of me. So I don't know that she was necessarily, I don't know if he was as excited about that as she was, but nevertheless, it was still fun. And so big shout out. And they're my honorary number one fans in the state of Rhode Island. So that's pretty awesome. So, I don't have pictures of it this week, but it's pretty cool.
So I guess before we dig into some of this stuff, what was a cool gift that you got or gave? And I guess same thing for the listeners. What's something cool that you guys did for people or someone did for you?
Well, I mean, I got a really cool suitcase to take along with me on all my journeys throughout the country, etc. But kind of one of the funnest things was that we play this game called Left, Center, Right, where you throw the dice out, and of course it's for money. And we upped our game this year. We actually had dollar scratch offs. So the prize pool, the potential was thousands and thousands of dollars, and of course maybe we pulled in like $22, but it didn't matter. It was fun, tons of fun, and that's what we did. So let me start off real quick. Anything else about Christmas that we need to mention?
No, I don't. I think we're just, I mean, if the people who are listening can send us some comments, that it'll just be interesting to see what they did. So no, I'd just say that a cool gift that I got was a national park pass for a year. So I'm going to go try to visit some national parks next year. And but anyway, no, go ahead. What do you got?
And I don't know what that cost, but it sounds cool and it sounds like something I need. So maybe I'll get one of those in the future. So I don't know.
You're getting close to being able to get the lifetime one because you're a little older than me, but you got to be a certain age before you can get a lifetime one.
Okay. Well, I look really good for my age. So, but I know I'm getting close. All right. So here we go. We're going to start this off, and we've got a really interesting show tonight, I think. Like I said, we couldn't be more pleased with all of the people that are signing on, the people that are leaving comments, and it's just really epic, and it's made us feel really welcomed. I mean, for you guys to take the time to listen to us for 54 minutes, that's saying something. And so hopefully we're bringing you good content, and that's the reason why you're sticking around. If you happen to have any ideas of specific guests, and you know what we're looking for movers and shakers, people that are actually not just sitting back and not doing anything. We're looking for people that are basically making things happen and making a difference, not only in the world of criminal justice, but really just in the world in general. Although we're going to have a heavy influence in the criminal justice world for sure. So that's what we're looking for. If you have any guests, I can tell you we got some amazing guests that are coming our way. I mean, tons of them. And I already know that some people are going to know some of them if they're avid watchers of television, because I like I said before, I can't believe that we've got some of these people that have agreed, but it's going to be amazing in the future. This next guest, just to set the stage, she has an employee by the name of Taylor Hetty, and I don't know, I don't remember for the life of me where this came about, but one of the things that Ronnie and I have put together, and we put this together, do you remember how many years ago we put that booklet together?
Golly, it's got to be 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah, long time. And basically how this all came about is there is a homicide booklet that we're not going to get in great depth today. We'll probably talk about that on a future episode. But what we did is, one of the best places for Ronnie and I, when we would drive around and we were doing cases and working here and there and so forth, is just bouncing off ideas as to how we could make things better. And that was all done in the police car. Generally, that's where we did all this. And one of the ideas that I had in my mind was that I wanted to be able to come up with a booklet that we could literally hand to families when we do death notifications. And when we do those, and we did way too many of them actually, but when we would do those, we would give them the information, and we already knew that they're only probably retaining 10% of what we were telling them. And so it just drove me crazy. And so I had this in my brain that I wanted to be able to come up with this booklet and put it together and have all of the information that they would need in this booklet when we handed it to them. So it would eliminate a lot of the phone calls and so forth that we would get on a regular basis. And Ronnie, what is your saying that goes with after we talk about something and we need to do something about it? What was your saying that I would always hear?
Yeah, quit talking about it and do it.
Right. So that's exactly what we did. Ronnie actually sat down and he put this thing together. We put this booklet together, and I said I wasn't going to talk much about it, but just a little bit more about it. And that is that we put this booklet together, and we've been handing this booklet out to families for 7, 8 years, probably 10. I mean, maybe it's like 7 or 8 years at least, maybe even longer than that, and to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families. Not only have we been handing them out there, but everywhere I go throughout the country, I've been handing them out like candy. And so they're now using those booklets in California, North Dakota, Florida, Delaware, and there's multiple Texas, just several places throughout the country where they have stolen my idea because I've told them to do that. Steal my idea. It's a great idea. And it makes a lot of sense, and it's just really grown like wildfire. Well, anyway, Taylor Hetty had actually saw something that I had either posted or something along those lines, and she said she wanted a copy of it. And so I'd sent her a copy, and based on that, she said that her boss was really interested in it, and that she was from the Kristie Randolph organization. And I really didn't know much more than that. And other than when I'd kind of started looking up some stuff on the internet and so forth about it, and I sent her a copy. And then at some point, that's when Kristie ended up reaching out to me. And at some point, she had asked me if I would be interested in being a keynote speaker out in Henderson, Kentucky. And Kentucky is a place that I've spoken at, I think 6 or 7 times up to this point. And I said, absolutely. And her plan was that she wanted to have this out in the park. And that's where they had it each year, where you kind of talk and they read names, et cetera, of other victims of domestic violence. And I said, well, Kristie, it would be better off if you had me come out there, and maybe we could look at having an arena, and let's just load it up, man. I'm talking hundreds of people. I'm much better with hundreds of people in an audience as opposed to a handful. And so that's what we did. I went out there. I met with her. We went all over. We did a lot of media events. And I think at the end of the day, I think we ended up with 250 people, which was pretty that's Kristie right there. And we ended up having this event, and she put it at the Henderson Community College. And it was really, really a tremendous experience. And so, really, I don't want to waste much more time. I want to talk to Kristie Randolph and bring her on. Kristie.
Hello.
My friend from Kentucky.
How are you?
We are great. I was just mentioning a little bit, and I know you were listening backstage, and you were listening in reference to how we kind of met, etc. And I think it was 250 people, wasn't it? Something along those lines?
It was. But I got to correct something. Taylor, I was not Taylor's boss. Taylor worked in Herbie McKee's office, the Commonwealth Attorney's office, and we worked together through the court systems. But I'm going to use that angle that I was her boss.
That's right. And I do remember now. That's right. Yeah. And so hopefully they're using that booklet, or they came up with their own. I know she was working on it. So that's the goal.
Yeah, they're working on it.
Okay. So I really didn't want to tell the story. I wanted you to kind of briefly tell us a little bit about how this all started. The Kristie Randolph Foundation, or organization, that is.
Well, Chloe's my daughter, and unfortunately, March 23rd, 2019, in Henderson, Kentucky, she was brutally murdered, almost to the point of execution style, by her estranged soon-to-be ex-husband in his apartment. They had a then 9-month-old son, Slim, who we have adopted, her father and I, and he's 5 going on 50. And Chloe growing up was just, she was all about life. She was energetic. She was smart. She was intelligent. Her original goal was she was going to be an attorney, because she loved SVU, the sexual crimes unit. And she would have been really good at being an attorney, because she loved to argue, but she could never beat me. And I always told her that. But then my father-in-law got dementia, and he ended up moving in with us. And she wanted to be a hospice nurse. And being a hospice nurse takes a special kind. You know, that's the end of their life. You have to be compassionate. And she worked for Easter seals in their homes with mentally challenged adults. And so she meets this individual by the name of Gabriel. And Chloe believed the good in anybody. She didn't see their race, religion, culture. She just believed the good in anybody. And she meets this individual, and they fall in love, or she does, and they get married, and she has Slim, and it immediately fell apart because he wanted to control her. And that wasn't Chloe. I taught Chloe to be independent and strong and stand your ground, and you stand down for no one, and you don't need a man. And he didn't like that, because that's not what they did in their culture. And that particular Saturday, he was holding Slim hostage, basically, the day before, taunting her through Facebook Live and other things, calling her every name under the book. And he called her and said, if you want Slim, you have to come alone, and come right now. I never knew she went. She had told her dad, and her dad said, if you give me about 10 minutes, I'm down the road working. I'll come with you. And he told her that she couldn't bring her dad. And Chloe, being Chloe, She was going to get her son. She was going to fight to the death, and that's essentially what happened. She went into the apartment, and she was brutally murdered. It wasn't a thing of where, it was an accident. He shot her once or stabbed her. He hit her in the back of the head twice, knocked her to the ground, and knocked her tooth out because she hit the ground so hard. He flipped her over, and he took the claw of a hammer to do that, but flipped her over and took the ball of a hammer and beat her across her forehead, and she was out. And they've assured me that she never knew, she never came to, she never knew what happened. And I hope she didn't. I hope she never wondered why she was alone or why it never came or anything. Then he slit her throat, ear to ear. He liked about this much, cutting her head off. And by his own admission in court, he stood over her body and watched her take her last breath. I hope she didn't wake up and beg him to save her. On a one-on-one fight in that apartment, she'd have took him, and he was just a coward, all because she would not sign away her rights to Slim and give him $500 a week. She wanted to co-parent with him, but he didn't. He wanted Chloe away, and so he kills her and stands over her body, takes a shower, moves her car, leaves her car running. Her purse and phone is in there, and he uses her debit card to flee to West Memphis, Arkansas, and that's where he gets caught with Slim. Her dad knew all day long that something was wrong. I never knew till it was time to tell me, and I still didn't believe that she was dead. I said, maybe she's upset, maybe she's angry, because Saturday was her day off, and I had taken her brothers, Brecken and John Michael, to a movie, and I get a call that I needed to come to the police station. And when I got there, after I'd called my brother to come, and I told him, I said, you are to go where John Michael and Brecken are. You do not tell them anything's wrong. You take them home. And I would encounter Jay, which is my husband and her dad. And he said, I know he's done something to her. I just need to know where she's at so I can go get her. And I tell him, I've not seen the vision. And if you're a mother, you understand that, because if you know something's wrong. And I would later realize that I had in fact seen the vision when I went to her apartment, or her duplex, which was actually my mother's, earlier that morning. And I said, she's not dead. Nothing, if anything, maybe she's with him and she doesn't want to admit it. Maybe she's hurt. Maybe she's tied up, but never in my wildest dreams. While we're at the police station, an individual shows up that is with the brother, would later marry the brother that was actually Chloe's friend, so-called friend. And they had known since that morning he killed her and put her in the closet, but said nothing. Not that that would have saved her, but it may have in my mind as her mother, maybe. But to the depth of what he did to her, no, it wouldn't have. She came to the police station. The brother went to the crime scene. Jay and my son would end up walking, which was about a mile from the police station. And the officers on scene were very nice. They went there because they knew Jay was coming. And they said, Mr. Randolph, I can kick the door in, but whatever's in there, if she's in there dead, we can't use it. So he chose to wait for the warrant. And Detective Eisenhood, Jake Eisenhood, came to the scene with the warrant and about 20 other officers. I don't know if that's normal, the 20. I don't know if they thought Jay was going to do something, or I got separated from my husband, my son, the other family members. And I was in line with the door when they kicked that in. And you always hear me talk about the red door. And I knew the layout of that apartment because I used to know the owner, and I'd been in the apartment. And they kicked the door in, and the apartment was tore up. And I knew when he turned and he looked at me that she was gone. And he shut the door. And I was separated from the group. I don't know how I got separated. But my son was over in the grass, which would be her brother, because Chloe was the oldest. And he was crying. And it was almost like I was in a bubble, like I didn't know what to do. Jay would walk up to me and he said, he's killed our baby. What do we do? And I knew right then that as her mother, as their mother, as his wife, that this was the point that I had to, regardless, had to be strong. And I immediately went into, where is Slim? Where's her car? Her car had been running since that morning because he moves her car at around 9:30, 10 down the street. Slim is in West Memphis. They detain him, and his one last final act of control is he refuses to release Slim to us. He wants him to go to foster care, so we couldn't get him. My brother-in-law was actually within 45 minutes of West Memphis because he's a truck driver, and he went there and he called us and he said he won't let you have him. And so Slim, who had never been away from any of us, spent 3 days in foster care. That's on a Saturday. Saturday evening, I would have to go home and tell her brothers their sister's gone, because Chloe was truly her brother's keepers. And it was, it still didn't, they tell you, but it still didn't dawn on me. So overnight, my phone got over on airplane mode, and about 5:30, my son Brecken comes into the bedroom and he's crying because that's his sister. And I said, "Do you want to lay down with Mom?" And he said yes. And I asked where his dad was, and he said, "Daddy's left in your car." And I immediately started panicking. I knew where he went. I won't say where he went, but I knew where he went. And I called him and I said, "I know why you're there, and I know why you want to be there." I said, "But I need you to come home because we need to get Slim. Your sons need you." And he came home. And so for the next 3.5 weeks, my brother-in-law was there with us. We were never alone. The amount of support that we got, people that I didn't know that, sent us meal trains, support. Henderson was great. However, he confesses to killing her, but he has control of her body. He kills her.
And that's something I really want you to touch upon, because that's really the beginning of where you guys, not only did you have to deal with the death, then you have to deal with emergency custody of the child, that you're already fighting against that now. And then on top of it, talk about that, what you're about ready to touch upon with how you approach that and what ended up happening.
So on Monday, we immediately start the petition to get Slim and to get control of Chloe's body, because in Kentucky, like most states, there is a slayer law. And what that is he confessed to killing her, but he's still her next of kin because they wasn't going to be divorced until Tuesday. So he has control of her body 5 days after notification of death. He knows he's killed her. So our estate attorney for her state didn't even know this law in Kentucky existed. So we petitioned the court for her body. We petitioned the court for Slim. Monday afternoon, we get told by who was the family court judge, Judge Sheila Ferris, that we can go to West Memphis and get Slim the next morning. However, we have to wait for him to decide if he's going to exercise his rights or waive his rights. He didn't either. And I prepared her brothers for, he can take control of her body. He can burn her body. He can do whatever. Luckily, he didn't, because that would have been another slap in the face. So at the time, our representative was former Judge Rob Wiederstein, and we went to him immediately and asked him to investigate how we changed the slayer law. So he researched in New York, and he used that for Kentucky. And every state has one. Some have been amended, some haven't. So when the session came back in, which would have been January 2020, but we immediately started at her death and working on it. And they started writing up 2 different versions. So when session opened in January 2020, they kicked it right off. Former Judge Wiederstein, wrote it, but Senator Robbie Mills, who presented it in the House and in the Senate. And so COVID happens, and it proceeds quickly because they knew that was something that needed to be changed. And we thought it was going to die out due to COVID, but on 4/24/20, and if you know anything about our zip code is 42420. And I just thought that was really cool that on that date it got put into law. So it's called the Chloe Randolph Act. So what happens now is if that would have happened now to somebody, the person that killed the individual, if they're married, wouldn't get the rights. They would have to petition the court. So if she had adult children, the children would get first say. If she didn't have adult children, her parents, Jay and I, would get first say, then it would go next in line. And nothing that we will ever do with that will help us, the Randolph family. But what it does is it protects all Kentucky families that should never have to go through what we did, wondering if the man that killed your child gets to bury your child. And we just thought that was important. And like I had told you before, we wanted to do Indiana, Illinois, and Tennessee because it was in that group. But I may actually go to Oklahoma and then maybe do it with somebody in your representation of the state.
Well, we're certainly going to try to make that happen for you and introduce you to them. No problem. Because I know a couple of people in mind already that I know that would probably be all about that. So it's definitely a good thing, and it's something that they definitely need to do. The reason, and the other thing that I really brought Kristie on here for, not to, and I know that some people might be going, man, I can't believe you're, having her tell that story again. And this is a story you tell all the time, right?
I do.
And it doesn't make it any easier. It's not easy. I know it's not easy, but it's a powerful story. And I think that you had to deal with all of this. Then you deal with the situation with her remains. And then on top of it, which amazing, I'm actually got to give credit a little bit to the politicians, believe it or not, for actually doing something, number one, and actually doing something that makes sense. And that's good. So I'm going to give them credit for that. That sounds amazing that they were able to do that. And then not only that, Kristie, but then you figured out real quick, you could have very easily just went on about your life, right? Then you have this trial. You go through the trial. What happens through the trial? Briefly, what ended up happening to him? Because this is crazy.
Well, one, I want to explain why we become an organization real quick. When we got Slim back on that Tuesday, we had to, on that Thursday in Henderson, Kentucky, go for emergency temporary custody. And it was me and Jay and my brother-in-law, Mark, and we were on the third floor that I'm on all the time now. And there was an individual, a lady that was watching me as much as I was watching her. And she finally approached me, and she had an arm in a sling, and she was beat up. And she says, "You don't know me, but I know you. And I don't want anything from you, but I need you to know this, that Chloe saved me that night, because I had been beat up every night. But when it came out that she died, Chloe saved me, because that gave me the fortitude to leave." On the Sunday, when I got my phone off airplane mode, there were 600 messages, voicemails, text messages, whatever kind of communication. 75 of those were for victims, men and women, asking me for help. I couldn't even help myself, let alone help someone else. That was the decision we made on that Thursday, that if we were ever going to do anything to help victims, and Chloe's legacy was going to stand for something, that was it. I always tell everybody there was two ways we could have handled it. We did absolutely nothing, rolled over, played dead ourselves, and her death would have been in vain, and every victim after that. Or, as hard as it is, was, it will always be, stand our ground and let victims know they have a voice. So we're in the middle of going towards August of 2019, which would have been his first hearing to go to trial. Didn't go to trial. Every month to December of 2019, it got postponed. Then we get someone that says, hey, his attorney at that time, out of Owensboro, will give, how about 10 years in manslaughter? We thought that was a slap in the face, and we said no. So we roll into January 2020, right before COVID hit, and he wants to fire his attorney and hire new ones. And Judge Wilson, Karen Wilson in Henderson, said, no, you're going to trial. Well, if we didn't allow it, then he could come back and say that we didn't give him his amendment rights. He was violated in some way, and we didn't want that. We wanted everything to be done so he couldn't say anything. So now we're postponed 6 months, which we would have been anyway due to COVID. So every month it's something. And we get to March of 2021. I'm at my office when then at that point, the Commonwealth attorney was Bill Markwell. And he comes to my office and he wants to have a conversation about Chloe's case. He didn't even know her name. He hadn't even read the file. Detective Jake Eisenhood knew everything front, back, center, in between about that case. And we talked daily. And he said, Well, we might can get 10 years in this. No, I want to go to trial. Her dad was very adamant. And he said, so Bill Markwell's talking to me. He says, well, you talk with Jay. I said, I'll talk with Jay. I said, but I know his answer. I said, we didn't get to ID Chloe at the crime scene because there was so much blood. I said, I want to see the crime scene photos. He said, no, you don't. I said, yes, I do. I said, you give me those photos. I said, and I'll have a conversation with Jay. I already knew the answer because I already knew my answer. It was no. And he produced them the next day. And he tried to say that it was a crime of passion. It was justified. So I get to the one where her neck is cut down to my knuckles. And they move her body and it flips back. So I hold that picture up and I said, so this is justified. I said, this isn't an accident. This isn't things got out of hand. He intentionally meant to do that. I said, so the answer is no. I said, I don't have to ask Jay. The answer is no. So we went through the summer. We get to August. They have a hearing. I can't remember the name of what it was called, but it was the detective from West Memphis, Arkansas, our detective, and then the officer that responded. And they only did that, in my opinion alone, to appease us because they already knew what they were going to do. They took a plea deal against our wishes. Because, see, in Kentucky, if you went to trial and he got 20 years, it's 20 years, but he may serve 60 because he may continuously get flopped, is what they call it. At least you tried. You didn't do nothing. You took a plea deal to keep your record at the percentage that it was because he hasn't taken anybody in a murder situation to trial since 2002. But he would take somebody over weed and drug paraphernalia.
So, Kristie, I was looking today. Can you give maybe the people a little context? That sounds crazy to me that you're dealing with that with the DA's office or whatever it's called there in Kentucky. But I don't know if the numbers I looked up today were just the city of Henderson or the whole county. But basically from 2007 to 2022, there was usually 1 or 2 murders a year is all that they were dealing with. There was one year there was a bump all the way up to 7, but unless I'm wrong, it's not like they weren't overwhelmed with murders.
No, they were not. No, they were not. It would. I still don't understand why he wouldn't. It was a slam dunk case. So he appears at we go to court September 23rd, 2021, 10 days prior to that. Bill Markwell appears at my office knocking on the door. I'm coming in the back door. He's knocking on the front door. For some reason that morning, I sensed something was off. I opened the door. He's waving this piece of paper, and he says, we got what we wanted. We got murder. He was fixated on convincing us that the word murder is all we wanted. First and foremost, I don't care if this man got 80 years. It wasn't bringing my daughter back, but he deserved what he killed my daughter the way he did. He deserved more than what he got. So he says, he lied. He said, we got 20 years for murder and 10 years for tampering with 2 counts of physical evidence for moving her car and moving her body. Because after she's dead, he drags her body back to the closet, throws the murder weapon, the hammer and the knife, under her body. And I wouldn't agree. I didn't sign nothing. I wouldn't agree. I called her dad. So we get to September 23rd. They were so worried that there was going to be a riot, I guess. They closed the courthouse down about an hour and a half before it was time for us to come in. So the only people allowed on that floor was me, her dad, her brothers, her 3 brothers. On a live circuit to the family, they were on there, my attorneys. And then we had family outside, of course, the news crew. And normally in a situation in Kentucky, you plead guilty. They bring you back 30 to 45 days later. And they assess you in that time frame of where you're going. No. He pled. They did it. He says, do you want to do an impact statement? I didn't need to write it. I knew what I was going to say. And he was out of Henderson in an hour because they had him sequestered because he caused such an issue. You had individuals in there that it was a riot every day. They would not let this man look at me in my face. They turned his back to me, which I thought was disrespectful because I have on heels. If I wanted to, I could have hit him over the head. But you did not allow him to look at me. He needed to face her family. He couldn't even call her by name. When the judge asked him what he did, I killed her. Who's her? My wife. Slim, to this day, he still doesn't call him by name. He didn't want Slim. He wanted that as a tool. He refers to him as the kid. He has no rights to Slim. His rights have been terminated. But here was your opportunity to show victims they matter and they have a voice. And you failed them. You failed us. You failed your police department, who worked tirelessly. I don't have an issue with Henderson Police Department or Detective Jake Eisenhood or Detective Shannon Troutman. They did awesome. They know they do. We have this special bond that we still talk each day. But you failed them, all because you didn't want to take the time and put in the effort to go to trial.
So, based on this, you get to a point, all those people coming to you, and then you put together the Chloe Randolph organization. And what is it that you do for people right now? And you know, it's not just for women, it's for victims of domestic violence.
Yes.
Women and men. That's right.
So I am your person. So if you was to call me right now, because I take calls all night long from Henderson Police Department, Sheriff, other organizations, I'm going to respond. And if I need to put you in a safe house, which we don't have a safe house, so I have to find somewhere to put you, that's what I do. And then I'm with you through the EPO process, which is an emergency protective order, until it gets to court within 14 days. That either becomes a DVO, domestic violence order, or IPO, intimate partner order. And then I'm with you from the start, the middle, the end, to if we need to get you to therapy, if we need to get you to a job, if we need, whatever we need to do for you to have support unconditionally, to know you matter, you have a voice, and to be free of abuse on your journey with your children.
So,
and until Chloe came along, you didn't talk about domestic violence in Henderson. So I'm that dominant force that's in your face every day going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Well, and actually, I think, Kristie, I got a taste of that when we were out there in Kentucky, because we talked about this a bunch. I'm like, listen,
yes,
there's people sitting at home. I was worried. I mean, I thought we were going to have 10 people show up to this thing. And literally there was 250, which was amazing, because a lot of people don't want to talk about this issue. They know it exists. Everybody knows it exists. But it's one of those things that people just don't like talking about. And it's not like they're sitting at home on a Saturday going, honey, what do you want to do tonight? Oh, well, let's go to that domestic violence thing. That sounds like fun.
Right.
They don't want to talk about it. But yet you are doing all of this stuff for so many people. And that's why I'm just super impressed. I was impressed then. I'm impressed now. And you're not just doing that. You like go to court through the week. Every week.
Go to court.
That's what
I do. Henderson has domestic violence court on Mondays. Our domestic docket is so big anymore because our strangulation and stalking that's associated with domestic violence is out of control too. I can't get out of court in time for 11 o'clock to get to another county that's close to Henderson, which would be Webster, because they have domestic court, and I need to. And then I set Tuesdays, sometimes Thursdays, for criminal court relating to domestic. And then I could go on Wednesdays in Union County, which is close to Henderson. But I also teach the Safe Dates Teen Dating Violence program to teens, not only in our local high school, but surrounding high schools, because people don't understand. Domestic violence in teens start as early as 6th grade. By 8th grade, it's out of control. 8th grade is ramped up. 10th grade, it's out of control. And now you've already set the pattern. And that's something they need to learn, and parents need to understand what abuse is. It's not just physical. It's emotional and verbal and mental, and you have to understand the pattern. And so I'm trying to educate Henderson and make them understand, and other individuals, not just Henderson, across our counties, our state, or whatever. And some days I feel like I'm beating my head against a wall, but I'm glad I'm beating my head against a wall, because there's one person I reached that day, then that was my goal.
Do you have any help with people going to court with you and answering the phone, or is it just
I do. No, I have a board. I have some other individuals that are there. But the sad thing is victims have been so scared when I came along after Chloe's death, you had police departments that weren't talking to each other. Nobody was really talking to each other. So it's kind of, so now I have, our police department, sheriffs, we're all in this collaborative effort together, because we have created a lethality program of, if you're called to the scene, okay, do they have a pattern? Have they been arrested before? Is this the first time? And that's not something they had either. And so people trust me, and that's what I want. And so there's others that work with me, but if they specifically ask for me, I'm going to go. I don't care what time it is. I will go.
And you talked about you were talking about, like, if it's in the middle of the night, you go out and you help them find a place to stay.
Yes.
What other services do you provide to these people? And I guess in turn, what do you need from the public or the lawmakers or whoever to help push this along even farther?
Well, one, Henderson does not have a shelter for domestic violence. We have a shelter for women and children. And it's not that they don't want to help, but as a shelter for domestic violence, you have to have an address that's not publicized. You will never know what that building is, because, as I told in a city commission meeting, you are a mass shooting waiting to happen. You are. Because if you have a place that's for domestic violence, it's got to be private. I said, if you do not address this issue soon, you're a mass shooting waiting to happen. We need a shelter. We need somebody to be our backer. We had one about a year ago. It would have worked out great. Unfortunately, the individual that was selling the building, there was a nonprofit that was bidding with us, against us. He raised the price $40,000. Then we were going to have to do some work, and it just wasn't feasible to do that. So we need somebody to come along, maybe donate us a building. I mean, it's for good use. Transitional housing. I have went back and forth in my mind. Do I want a house? Do I want to put multiple people in there that maybe have kids? I don't know, because that may be a problem too. So a quadplex or a duplex or an apartment. We just need a safe space for somebody to go, because we can put them in a hotel, but what's going to happen is the abuser is going to find out where they're at. Then they're going to come there. Then you're running the risk of something's going to happen, or they're going to go back. So that's two things I'm really working hard on in 2024, but also maybe a vehicle, because we have had to take victims from Henderson, Kentucky to Memphis, Tennessee to family, because there was no place for them to go. Domestic violence in my area, especially Henderson, is so out of control that shelters in surrounding areas, they don't have availability either. So the answer is, we just hope you have someplace safe to go, and that bothers me at 3 o'clock in the morning when I wake up. Those are the three things. We're also, my new office has an upstairs that I think would be really awesome for a parenting time center, because people don't understand, if you're in a domestic situation and you have kids and you have to exchange those kids, you need a safe place. And sitting in the Walgreens parking lot with a camera may sound safe for a moment until something happens and you're waiting on law enforcement to get there. We also have domestic violence support groups, and we're doing them in the downstairs of the office, but it would be really awesome to have multiple locations upstairs. So people don't understand that you have domestic, but you have these components that make it up too, that intensifies the situation. So we have a lot of things that we're working on. We also
How about stuff like clothing, hygiene items?
Yes.
Is that stuff that comes up?
Yes, we have Chloe's Closet that's attached with the organization, and everything in there is free, because victims oftentimes with their kids leave with what they have on their back. So they go back because they have no support financially, physically, with clothing, housing, or whatever. So we need personal hygiene items, laundry items, cleaning items, gift cards. And why I say that is, if we've gotten somebody out of their situation, we've gotten them a job, they have no money, well, they can use gas cards, $10, $15, or even $10 or $15 for food, so they can get to work, get their lunch, whatever, and just things like that. And obviously monetary donations would be awesome too, because we're still a newer organization. We do not receive federal funding yet. That's something I want to work on, but we need a grant writer for federal grants, because you have keyword indicators that we can do local grants, but with those bigger ones, you need somebody that has experience. And in order for us to continue to grow, we need federal funding. We have private donors. I'm at an event right now. Actually, I'm away from it, but it's something that they're doing for the organization. So we have local funding, private donors. We do our own events too. But you just have to understand to have something like this requires money, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make sure that we're successful.
Hey, I got a quick question, Kristie. Do these states, like Kentucky or the other states, because you research this stuff throughout the country all the time, do they not require the state to kind of fund some of this in some way, shape, or form? Or
They
does that make
do,
sense?
and they do, but you become a new organization. You have to prove your worth. You have to prove your stability, and you have to work towards it. And so we're working towards that. And we have applied for a state grant, and I'm pretty confident that we're going to get it. But VAWA, which is Violence Against Women Act, that's your federal funding. That's your $10-15 million that we would love to have. That if we couldn't get a building for shelter, we could build it. I'm sure hopefully somebody's watching this that could maybe donate their time to maybe refurbish our upstairs for what we want to do with that, or they have some ideas. And I would love to hear it, because everybody thinks it doesn't exist until it affects your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, I'll tell you what, I think that I don't think that you have any unreasonable requests, and I'm sure that there are plenty of people that are located in that tri-state area of Illinois, Indiana, or Kentucky, or even Ohio, or other states that are near you, Tennessee, etc., that I'm sure that there's plenty of people, and hopefully somebody will be listening in on this, and they're like, well, heck, I could help with that, and that'd be perfect. Yeah. So that's awesome, and that's one of the reasons that I think that the viewers are going to know the reason why I brought you on here. If they haven't seen by now how much of a difference that you have made, where very easily you could have just sat back, went about your life, and just tried to move forward. But you didn't do that. This is a full-time and overtime gig that you've just accepted. And I'm sure that that's not easy for you and Jay to continue to maintain every day. So I don't know. It's you've done a whole lot, and I've got tremendous respect. What would you want to? No, go ahead, Ronnie. Huh?
I'm just thinking. You said how this is. Everybody knows this exists, but nobody wants to admit it or talk about it. However you've worded that. Was there signs that you and Jay saw early on in their relationship that you would maybe let other people know, hey, if you see signs of this, that, or the other, to don't be afraid to say something. Obviously, adults are adults and they get to make their own decisions in life, but people always need help. So is there anything that you could advise people to be on the lookout for?
Well, in Chloe's case, we never knew that she was being abused. And that surprised me, but as we go through this journey, I understand why. Because Chloe was somebody that was independent and strong, but it doesn't matter. You can be a CEO of a company, or you can work at McDonald's. If you're being abused, you're being abused. And most people think it's shameful to reach out and ask for help. So he was controlling in the fact, something as simple as this. She was pregnant and loved Papa John's pizza. And she would come to my house and she would start just eating. And I thought, well, okay, you're pregnant. And she said, no, he just wants me to eat fruit and drink juice. So I always tell people, if you have a family member, a sister, brother, whatever, that starts dating somebody and all of a sudden they've changed, they can't talk on the phone, they can't be around family, they've lost their job, they've become addicted to a drug or become an alcoholic, that is their way to control you and isolate you. So if you see something happening, say to your sister or something, then that's a red flag that you need to pay attention to. And don't become enemy number one, as I tell everybody, because what happens is if you start talking about that, the abuser is, well, they're worthless, or they're a deadbeat, or they're doing this, then you become enemy number one, because the goal of the abuser is to isolate the victim and say, well, your family doesn't like me. They don't want me around you. They're trying to keep us separated. Be the support there. Be non-judgmental. Be the listening ear. Don't turn a blind eye, because it can happen quicker than you realize. Chloe was, like I said, Chloe was strong and independent. She would have been the last person I would have ever suspected would be a victim of domestic violence that lost her life the way she did.
Yeah.
And as I tell everybody, nothing I will ever do, nothing this organization will ever do, nothing her father will ever do will change what happened March 23rd, 2019. But what we do going forward helps prevent the next Chloe, helps prevent the next family from ever enduring what we do on a Christmas that was awful because her father doesn't want to celebrate it because his daughter is not there.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell Jay we said hello, and I know that this is a very difficult time, and I want to just thank you for telling your story, for joining us tonight. And you know that you're a dear friend of mine, and I'm going to see you again down the line, and
San Antonio, baby.
That's right. Whatever. We'll have a drink for sure. Whatever we can. Come. Yeah, for sure. Whatever we can do to help you get the word out, we're definitely on your team. And I love the fact that you've got people starting to communicate out there, et cetera, because teamwork makes the dream work. And I can tell you this much with respect to Ronnie and I, and a lot of the murders that we worked, unfortunately, they were domestic related. And in reality, I think some of those were some of the worst cases that we ever did work because of that. Just there's a couple of them that come to mind.
One you showed at Candles of Hope, the pregnant like that has bothered me for the longest. That it does.
And sometimes you have to put that stuff out there to get people's attention and to wake people up. And that was actually that's one of the cases that I'm referring to. I will tell you this, Kristie, we've got a few minutes left. Is there anything finally that you would like to say? Or I know we've got your website that's put up there.
Yes.
If people have questions as to, I know that there's something else that we didn't put on there, but we're going to go ahead and post it on there. It's the Amazon wish list. Is that what it's called?
Yes. It's actually items that as an organization we need for Chloe's Closet, for our warrior bags that we give to victims of domestic violence. Because some victims are homeless too. You can go on there, you can order it. It comes directly to our office. I was never so excited the other day when I went to the office and I had a box from Amazon of copy paper.
Okay. I mean, it's the things like that. It's the little things that make a world of difference to you. Kristie, we're going to have to take off here in a quick second, but I just want to, I cannot thank you. Hang on. You can hang with us till the very end, but both Ronnie and I mean, literally when I told him about you, he was like, absolutely. She's perfect. This is exactly what I'm talking about. When we have people come on here, we want people that are making a huge difference. And I just can't imagine the amount of work that you do on a daily basis, and you're helping. You don't even know how many people you're helping, but you're helping just tons of people, no doubt. So I want to thank you for coming on here, really.
Well, if you are a victim of domestic violence and you're seeing me tonight, please reach out to me and know that you have a voice and that you matter. And nothing you will ever ask me will offend me, as I tell all my teens. I'm an open book. You can ask me. I will talk about Chloe all day long if that will help somebody escape a situation.
Well said. Absolutely well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm gonna just tell you, thank you again. If anybody has any questions, go to that Chloe Randolph website that she has. We've been posting it throughout the thing. Also, there's some contact information in reference to me. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on any of those others, and you can reach out and you can communicate with me directly. Ronnie doesn't have any of the social media outlets as of yet, but you can reach out to me and we can certainly answer anything for you. The next week, we've got a guest that is Scott Wagner. He's a retired crisis negotiator / homicide detective with, I can't even believe his success rate, but it was a 95% success rate with New York City Police Department in North Manhattan. We're going to talk to him next week about a variety of things. Kristie, I think the world of you. I'm so happy that you're here, and get back to that benefit and do your thing. To all of the listeners, thank you once again for joining us. We can't do this without you. If you don't watch us, then nobody's going to have us on. So keep tuning in, keep listening, and let's make these numbers just go crazy. Thank you again. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you again. And please, if you have any
Thank
questions,
you.
feel free to post them. Thank you. All right. Good night, all.